Live from the internet, this is the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast. Welcome to episode number 81, recorded this December 19th, 2019. Welcome everyone joining us on Twitch, on Video On Demand, on YouTube, and through our various podcast apps, and on our website. You can find all that information, including our Discord, at tccpodcast.com. That's tccpodcast.com. Well, tonight we are joined by not just our regular cohort, but a special guest. I am Mark, and with me is Mino Spellgood. Mino, how are you doing?
Pretty mixed. Mark, I was having an amazing day yesterday, and I thought that energy was going to carry through to the show. And then I was spending all day doing Entropy today, so now I'm fucking grumpy again. So I'll say, I'll say we broke even.
And what are you drinking tonight, Mino?
Beer, because I was drinking all day, and I need to actually focus. Oh! I sobered up to try to beat Entropy before the show. Almost made it. Still did not, though. Beer for now, just light beer, Modelo.
Beer for my horses. Yeah, I'm drinking a delicious sparkling cherry vanilla seltzer water. And I am joined by Kreese, a.k.a. Sir Rink. He's not grumpy because he's not been bashing his head against Tier 5. How you doing, Kreese?
Good evening, everyone. I actually just finished Tier 1 as the stream was starting, so as Mina was bashing his head against Tier 5, I was perfecting Tier 1 for the first time. I will say I did have some trouble with it, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, I'm doing well.
Hey, Chris, thanks for the raid. I hope you've had a good stream. I hope your Entropy or whatever you were was all good, or maybe you're just doing some co-ops and having fun and not hurting yourself by doing Dimensions End. But we'll catch that later. And we are joined by, well, the only gold plate among us tonight, although there are many gold plates. Shout out to Jin Lee and Vane Novus. I think Vane Novus was the first to get the gold plate
Vane was the first
in our group. He got it just a few hours. Well, I don't think it was a few hours maybe after iOS got the game. I'm not sure I'm not sure even we were able to play the game yet on iOS. But anyway, Vane Novus got the gold. Jin Lee, our friend who does all of our images and everything else, he got the gold. And Final Character 7 got the gold. He was on there earlier today. And another gold plater is joining us today. You know him as Strafe. How are you doing, Strafe, tonight?
Hello, everybody. I'm doing pretty well. Not as bad as Mino, but I did suffer a little bit of burnout yesterday from trying to do all the Entropy quests. But I did manage to complete it all, and yep, here we are.
We are just gold-plated studs here tonight, everybody. Hey, we do have an announcement, speaking of gold plates. That has nothing to do with it. We have decided to, we have decided to get TCC apparel using the very own podcast Moogle logo that Jin Lee helped us create. So you can go. We're going to include the link down in our show notes, or you can get it on our Discord. And if you are in the United States, unfortunately, this is a local operation doing this for us. You can get all kinds of different shirts, hoodies, everything with the TCC logo if you're interested, fairly inexpensively. So we'll give you that information if you're interested. That's not for our profit. That will help local business, and we won't see that. So that's just if you're interested and want something fun. You are going to do that. So we'll feature those here as we get them. I have some ordered and all that kind of stuff. So, and we'll probably
do
give
we
some
want to share
away.
the link for the store or not yet?
Yeah, no, we can share the link. I have it here in the notes.
I just dropped it into chat for Twitch chat, and we'll have it in the show notes for those of you listening to the recording later.
Yeah, so to give you some idea, T-shirts are around $13. So just for the basic T-shirts, hoodies are $25, and that's about as expensive as it gets. So if you'd like to support your TCC, or just have another Final Fantasy. I just don't have a lot of Final Fantasy clothing. So you'll have the nice Moogle in the thing with the TCC logo. It's something you could wear around town and ask people, what the hell are you wearing? What does that mean? well, then you can talk about how great this podcast or how great this game is, because we certainly don't have a lot of DFFOO apparel. Okay, we got to get beyond that because we have a lot of stuff to talk about. We invited Strafe on the show tonight because we were thinking, well, all we have is a new chapter and a couple characters, and so let's have some good host discussion, have Strafe off. He's doing great videos and great content. And then we got maintenance. Oh, we got a special announcement before maintenance that we were going to get a whole bunch of stuff. And it happened after a very long maintenance, especially for iOS users. And we did. So we got our late December Chocobo panels. Macnol has a great guide for that on Reddit, Macnol. Macnol, our friend, goes through kind of where you can find all the creatures and stuff. Winter 2 Chocobo panel missions are also there. So you have 2 new Chocobo panel missions available. Lots of good stuff. Make sure you get those. Then we got maintenance. A couple quality of life things with maintenance. First of all, we got wild points. So wild points are a system when you are summon board grinding that you get additional points to use for any different character. They are not boosted by Super Synergy or anything else, but they are boosted by books. So I think you get 100 wild points per run. If you use a 3 times book, it's 300 per run. And then those kind of go into their own space. I think they do cap out 9,999. And you can add them to any character who you are using summon boards on. So if you want to bring a character up right away without grinding the boards, or if you want to do someone's treasures without grinding the boards, those wild points are going to help you. Guys, anything else you want to say about wild points? I think it's pretty straightforward.
Actually, I want to jump in real quick.
Yeah.
I noticed today, actually, while doing like with a ×2 EXP book, that you could actually do 3 runs, I believe, with the wild points to get the treasures.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like 1,200 points plus 600 from the wild points.
Okay.
And then you get your treasures. So that's a step up from doing 5 runs before.
Yeah. Stop the presses. Eroli subscribed to our channel. Thank you, Eroli. Our good friend Arrow. Thank you for the subscription. So yeah, it makes farming a little easier, and we'll talk later about some different ways you can use those wild points. So equipment passives, now there's been a update with how they look. So if you go to your character, their passives, they're now organized just like they are in Japan by various different types. So summon boards have their own group. Equipment has their own group, artifacts, and then your basic character passives. So check that out. You've probably already noticed that. And another quality of life update is when a character has the ability to get a free ability. For example, Rem, right, has that if she uses her EX, her next ability is free. Ultimisha has that ability when she uses her EX.
Has it. Noel gets it if he breaks a target with his Brave attack.
Right. So now, if Ultimisha uses her EX ability, the next action you will see green in her skill 1 and skill 2. And so that lets you know that that's a free ability and it will not consume the ability count. So kind of just nice little quality of life update to help us navigate that mechanic.
That visualization is very welcome because beforehand there was almost no way to know, unless you just understood the mechanics of the character, when they had a free ability use active, because there was no telegraphed passive or anything, with the exception of Rem getting a buff when she had her free ability use up.
Correct. There are also some sales. We have Kupocards returning. The Kupocard Mini is back, and there's also new ingot packages, and this one includes 3,000 gems, 4 power stones, the EX upgrade material, and 1 ingot, and you can buy 2 of those. And here in the United States, they're about $20 each. So what do you guys, and there's tons of other gem sales, but what do you guys think about this new ingot offering? Thanks, Ragnamune, for the bits. Yeah, so what do you guys think about the new ingot package?
It's fucking terrible. I think we had this discussion when on Black Fives Day when we first got our GL ingot packages about how our GL $42 bundles are worth more money objectively. Or I know Macnol likes to argue like the
You guys
monetary
did
worth.
talk about it a lot last
Yeah, we
time.
talk, but
I don't want to harp on it too much. We'll just give our quick takes on
I
it.
can
How
give my
about that?
take, I guess, because you guys already gave your takes. Basically, I don't think the package is as valuable as like the more expensive one we had before. But so I think it's a bad value pack because you don't get one ingot, you don't get a book anyway. So it's not something I would personally buy, but it is an option if you're looking for like a lower barrier of entry to get ingots.
I kind of agree with Strafe. I think it is less value objectively, unless you consider Power Stones and EX upgraded materials to be more valuable. But it's a much more reasonable price point to make a purchase at. So if $42 was too much for you to buy it at, 20 might be much more reasonable, while still getting some upgrade materials that'll help with EX plus.
Like precious power stones.
I hate it. I wish they offered both. I don't know if the better deal will ever come back again, but I really don't want to buy these after what we've seen was possible. But I'll probably get drunk and buy them anyway, so
Yeah, probably.
we'll see. But I hate them. But apparently, from
You hear that, Joshua? Mino's buying them anyways.
Yeah,
I know. But from what I've heard, the reaction, the community reaction to these $22 packs, the same that JP got, is actually more positive. Either because, I'm going to say benefit of the doubt because people like the lower barrier of entry, the lower price point. But I also think a good amount of that is probably the stupidity of not being able to tell how much these ingots are worth. I don't know. I'm mad about it.
All right.
We're
Well,
not going to harp on it too much. We have a
Nope.
lot more to talk about tonight.
more important things to talk about. We did talk about that last episode, so check out episode 80 if you want to talk about ingots. Oh, that was last week, right? It was long.
It was episode 79,
Oh,
I think.
79. Yes, 2 weeks ago. We had about 45 minutes on that topic, so let you know. We also have double cycle quest rewards for a while, so about 2 weeks, I think. Check them out while they get going. That brings us to Winter Festival Part 2, the Gigantic Winter, which added a new co-op, Santa Gigantaur, right? Level 70 and level 120 co-ops. So there's new rewards in a new reward shop. Tokens come from the daily quests. You can get 2 tokens, I think, every day. There's not
3
enough...
tokens a day. There's 1 to host a co-op and 2 to kill the Santa Gigantaur twice.
What I've seen, the shop is open for a month, so apparently we're getting more tokens somehow, like sometime during an update or something like that.
We did get compensation for and I'm sure this was planned, compensation for the maintenance that included 10 tokens. So we got a bonus of 10 tokens. But if you do the math, without the 10 tokens, you could not get everything. So prioritize what you need in case you're not able to get everything, but perhaps we'll get some more tokens down the line. This co-op's not particularly hard. It's also not particularly... It has some nice rewards, but not great rewards. So, do it a couple times a day to get the tokens, and there's like several other co-ops to do right now as well.
A couple things I want to mention about this co-op quickly. Number 1, the in-game announcement for this co-op shop specifically calls out that there might not be enough co-op tokens to get everything, so do prioritize what you want and what you can live without. And 2, this co-op is actually a pretty decent source of experience, so if you do not want to grind cycle quests, you get about a level per run of the level 121 if you're between levels 50 and 70. Is what I've seen so far.
It's 15k XP. Do you know how much the regular like cactuars give? The flower guys?
If you get a flowering cactuar, you definitely would get more experience there, but it's relatively comparable, and also it's random to get the flowering cactuars.
Yeah, and they're also running a ×2 like quest bonus rewards right now.
Either way, it's something to consider. If you want an easy way to gain experience and not just grind cycle quests, you can go do that and let other people carry your bad characters through it, maybe.
Yeah. Well, we talked about the Machina event, Keeper of Fear, last week, but that had just launched as we were streaming, I believe, and we had not had time to do the Chaos events, the Chaos Fight. So, did anybody want to walk us through their experience with the Chaos Fight? I've done so many Chaos since then. I literally have no idea what I used in that
Same.
fight.
I don't remember the fight
These
at
were
all.
the
Macnol one?
these were the Meriliths, right? They were the snaky looking things, or is that something else?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
the
don't remember the
Machina.
fight too well, but I remember the team I used.
Yeah.
I used Agrius. Shoot, I think I used Agrius. I don't remember anymore. Actually, never mind.
Team was Rem, Ultimecia, and Charlotta. Because I didn't want to use Agrius. I wanted to see like the mechanics. Because if you just paralyze them or silence them with Agrius, then
Yeah.
it can't really do anything to your team. But basically, it's pretty hard because I did go back with like non-synergy and stuff to try it out. It is really hard without like a select without synergy, obviously, but also without Agrius or Ultimecia. It's like impossible because
I will
you don't.
note that in
It's
the call
apparently
to
like a tight
arms,
score too.
in the call to arms thread, Agrius is by far the most popular character, followed by Ultimecia and Rem and Charlotta. So there was definitely a relatively high emphasis on Agrius, Ultimecia, and Rem across teams used.
I did bring
And
Warrior.
the
I
turn
did
count
bring.
was really tight.
It was tight. I did bring Warrior of Light to prevent some of the destruction that they do. But yeah, even I mean, my score was really good, well above the score. But I did it in 73 turns, and the turn requirement's 75 with Agrius, Ultimecia, and Warrior of Light. So, yeah, Agrius, Charlotta, Ultimecia probably do it a little faster, but you got to be a little bit more careful about what you're doing. So, Machina is real good in this too. So, yeah.
Not too many people pulled for him specifically.
Yeah, I have him. I just don't have him fully upgraded. So
Yeah, I don't think the event was that as hard as like Soul Cage and stuff we had before then. Ultimecia Chaos was really hard too. Even with Ultimecia, like it can still be pretty punishing. But this one is not quite. If you have select characters, it's much more easy.
well, speaking of new characters, because we did get some new characters, let's talk quickly about Story Chapter Arc 2, Chapter 6. So we got a new chapter in our story. This chapter seems to revolve mostly around Final Fantasy 14 and 11 characters. The Final Fantasy 14 characters being highlighted the most. Final Fantasy 11 villains being highlighted. I believe that's correct. No spoilers. We're not going to talk in depth about the story. We might come back to it next week. My first take on the story was, I think Macnol said as we were talking earlier, there was a lot of cutscenes, but not a lot of things said in those cutscenes.
A lot of substance.
I wasn't super impressed. But I will say, before we talk about the actual characters, they literally spoiled the spoiler in the splash screen before the chapter started. So, like, I mean, you all know, because we're going to talk about the character in a second, that, Lise is the new character, but they the very first screen before you start the chapter is the Lise splash screen and tells you exactly who she is and what she's done. Like, oh, well, surprise.
And she doesn't reveal herself until like much later in the chapter.
Yeah, very late in the chapter, and it's like, here it goes. Well, anyway,
I started the chapter last night thinking, okay, I'll unlock Lise, because every story chapter in Act 2 so far has been you do a couple of stages and the characters unlock pretty fast. This time, however, oh my god, it is not happening. I didn't even get to the Lise unlock last night. I unlocked her by getting weapons from the banner pulls.
Yeah.
Long chapter.
All right, so we did get we got a new character on this banner. The banner is Lise, Y'shtola, and Alize? Yeah,
Yep,
right?
Alice is the last one.
She's the poor person without her EX. So we'll
There's a lot
talk...
of LSAs in co-op.
Yeah. Oh, have you seen a lot of Alizes in co-op? That's cool.
Yeah. I guess people didn't pull for each other, or they want to use her because she hasn't been boosted for a while.
No, she has not.
Alice is not good in Chaos right now either, so doing stuff in a lower difficulty boosted environment's pretty nice.
So, Kreese, why don't you walk us through Y'shtola? She got an EX realization and a couple. Did she get a rework or no? I can't
Oh no,
remember
she
now.
got reworked in the
Yeah, she
summer.
got
The
she
only
got
thing she got
reworked.
here was 70
Yeah.
Awakening.
Yep. Yep. So a level 70 awakening and an EX realization, which is more than most reworks. So walk us through Y'shtola because most of us probably already had her, and most of us have probably already jumped in full throttle and ignited her up.
Sure. First thing I'll touch on is that with her awakening, she gets an additional ability called Brave Rejuvenate. At base, it gives party Brave based on her max Brave. If you bloom it, she gains 2 more uses of it. And if you fully awaken her and get her extension passive, it adds a small party max Brave bonus for a few turns. The big thing that Y'shtola gets, however, is her EX realization, which Mark alluded to, is almost on the level of another rework on its own. Just realizing the weapon improves the Brave regen buff that Pulse of Life gives Y'shtola, extends the buffs given by Pulse of Life by 1 turn, and causes Y'shtola to start a state or a quest with 9 turns of Brave regen and a fully charged EX gauge. 1 limit break gives her a massive boost to her attack and max Brave stats, and also increases the recast speed of her pathetically slow EX ability. 2 gives her a party attack and max Brave aura, which she lacked before. She had no auras, just generic buffs before that. And fully realizing her weapon turns Pulse of Life into a free turn basic ability. So when you use it at full, when it's fully realized, it's a free turn. Doesn't increase turn count. She gets to go immediately again. It also prevents her from dying if she has at least 50% of max HP before she takes an HP hit. And she gets access to a stronger HP plus, which basically just gives her some overflow, better, some brave gain on her HP plus before she batteries allies based on HP damage dealt. This is, I think we've mentioned already, it's on the level of turning Y'shtola from a relatively weak support unit into one of the best right now, because she just gets so strong with the ability to instantly revive everyone. Her EX ability is now has a reasonable recast rate, so she can actually use it a couple times in battle. She regains her ability uses when using her EX ability. She has massive brave battery potential for the party, and she has turn delay with stone. I've been enjoying using her so far. Does anyone else have anything to say? She's really strong.
Yeah, I used her in tier 4 of this thing called Entropy, and she made that a joke. I'm pretty sure she would make a lot of these tiers kind of a joke. Probably wouldn't have hurt in tier 5 either, even though they're magic resistant. Yeah, she just brave. I mean, she's not a brave shaver. You know that. It's weird because she really doesn't have the frame buffs that a lot of our support characters have now, but she just does so much, and her brave battery is so ridiculous. And if you pair her with characters that have great HP pluses, which we're now in that era, I mean, your Aces and Ultimishas and Squalls and Kujas, I mean, all these characters, Agrius, all these characters with these decent HP pluses that are going to overflow. Yeah, she is just saving you ability uses, prolonging the fight, your utility, just doing all kinds. Not to mention giving you auras, making sure you never die. She has that wonderful ability to use stone, so to delay turns in a clinch, and I mean, it's just she is really, really good. Yeah, it's great. I like her a lot. And I like her costume.
I think one thing that Mino wanted to mention about her, that he brought up, is that Y'shtola, now fully realized, is basically a everlasting character. She will never run out of ability uses because her HP is just strong enough to carry her through things, and her EX recharge rate and ability recharges means she can go much longer than anyone has any reason to go. Like, I think Mino said he's seen screenshots of her continuing to have ability uses and continuing to function even after like 500 turns or something silly.
Yeah, I was just gonna add that you pretty much said it yourself. I think the strongest thing is her EX replenishes both abilities. I can almost use abilities every single turn when I was using her. I think it's like the opposite of Ultimecia. Ultimecia's rotation for me is use the EX, use your free ability, use the HP plus. Oh, if you use the EX and then 3 abilities back to back. One of them is free, then you get the EX back, right? So it's like you're using 2 abilities per EX charge. It's the same with Ishtola. It seems like you just charge the 2, you get your 2 ability counts back, use them each once, and then you HP plus, and it's back up again. She's like never down, and I've even used her as a tank because of that +1 and then the instant heal up as well. It's just amazing that it's a free turn EX use that fully heals you and pretty much fully batteries. It's ridiculous.
Thank you, Jake, for the subscription. Appreciate the 5-month subscription.
Oh, it revives people too, right? So
it
Yes.
revives the party, so
Yeah.
you can tank your score. If you're just trying to get a chaos clear, Ishtola will probably let that happen because she is so hard to kill and she keeps the party alive. Even if they die, they can come back.
Yeah, she's ridiculous. And, I certainly wouldn't say you have to pull for her. She's a must-have, but she's really, really good. And she's pretty fun to play.
She's also been in both EX token shops, so
Yes.
if you do not want to pull, but you do want to get the EX, you have options.
Yeah.
Or you've had options.
And she'll be good for a while, too. So, she's not going anywhere. And she's a good support unit. She's not a DPS, but she makes your other characters better. Yeah. Anything else on Y'shtola? Well, let's talk about the new character. Her name is Lise. Like, I've got a lease on life. A new lease, perhaps. That's her name. And she's also somebody else, but that's a spoiler. So, what does Lise do?
I'll cover her briefly. I'm not going to go into extensive detail on everything she does, and I'm going to treat this as if you have her full kit. So I'm going to talk about her EX and both of her basic abilities and her additional ability all at once. So just take that in mind. I'm going to try to break it down to try to explain her basics and then go into how her abilities help with that.
All right.
First things first, she has 2 unique things. The first is a unique buff called Fists of Fire, which she gets by using her second ability, Riddle of Fire. This basically gives her a little bit of attack and max brave personally, and also gives the party a small int brave up and brave regen. So this is her primary priority utility from a source that cannot be overlapped. The second thing she gets from her EX is called Chakra. If you've seen the Grease Lightning Gauge that Ida has, it's kind of similar, but not quite, but it's a decent way of thinking about it. Chakra builds up when Lise uses abilities other than her converted braves, her converted HP abilities, and her additional ability. So using her first and second basic abilities or her EX will charge her with Chakra. If she gets 5 stacks of Chakra, she gains access to an empowered version of her EX ability, or she can use it on an empowered Brave ability, which basically gives her a free ability use on her next turn. So she has a couple options for how to use it. Her first ability is Elixir Field, which is an AoE Brave plus HP attack, a little bit of overflow, split HP damage, and also provides a generic attack and max Brave up buff. Her second ability, Riddle of Fire, I already mentioned. It's also a party battery based on Lisa's attack stat. While she has Fists of Fire active, it turns into Fire Tackle, which is another party battery that also does single target Brave plus HP damage, with some HP splash damage to other targets on it. Her EX ability is for Brotherhood and Forbidden Chakra. In base form, it's a self-brave gain, followed by an AoE Brave plus HP attack with overflow. In the empowered form, it's a greater Brave gain, stronger Brave plus HP attack with even greater overflow, but it consumes all of her Chakra. She also gains access to a special buff after using her EX ability called Brotherhood, which is basically just a attack and max brave bonus. The big thing it does however, is it allows Lise to gain chakra when allies use abilities instead of just Lise. So it helps her build up her chakra better if she has Brotherhood active. So basically, the way Lise works is she wants to get Brotherhood active, which she will get if she realizes her EX weapon. I'll get to the realization limit break bonuses soon, so that she can get more chakra, so she can get free ability uses and get a stronger version of her EX. Her HP, her Brave Plus is basic to Brave attack. Her HP Plus is a self-brave battery plus a brave plus HP attack with some small HP splash damage, so she can do a little bit of HP splash damage on her HP plus. Her additional ability has 1 use space, 2 if you bloom it, and what it does is it extends the duration of Fists of Fire by a few turns, and it increases her attack for a few turns. If you bloom it, the duration of those effects gets a little longer, and she gets another use. And if you get the extension for it, she gets a slightly stronger attack up buff. Finally, her EX realization. At 0 limit breaks, just booking her EX weapon, she gets a small increase to Forbidden Chakra brave damage dealt if she deals critical hits. First limit break, is just a large potency increase. Second limit break increases the effects of Brotherhood and lets her start with Brotherhood active so she can get her chakra up faster. And final limit break, fully realizing it, increases the Brave Overflow on Forbidden Chakra. So Lise is basically a mostly physical damage dealer with a lot of AoE damage potential. Some party utility with some Brave regen, some Int Brave up, some generic attack and max Brave up buffs. But her primary focus is to deal damage in an AoE fashion. She does a lot of HP splash damage, she does a lot of AoE damage, and she does it by dealing physical hits. She can self-brave gain herself with some based on her attack stat, but she shaves a lot is what she does. The general consensus from what I've heard is that she's not particularly amazing. She's one of the weaker characters fully realized, but she's still a solid option in this era. She's at like Fang and Zell levels rather than at Cloud levels or Squall levels. Let's put it that way. Use her if she's a favorite, but don't feel like you're missing anything if you skip her.
Well, one thing that I wanted to mention that we've talked about, because we do talk about, especially in Chaos Era, but I think we've talked about it pretty much throughout the entirety of the game, is the importance of support characters. Obviously, Y'shtola, somebody was asking about her artifacts. Int Brave and Max Brave are the 2 artifact passives you want. Prioritize Int Brave. But all kinds of supports, and supports are great, but you still need DPS characters if you're going to complete, right now 5 tiers of Entropy, ongoing to 15 in Japan. So yeah, you need damage dealers and supports. Now, probably supports are a little bit more versatile where they can fit in. But yeah, if you like Lise, if you like Machina, they may not be the best units out there, but they're going to find their niche and they're going to work, fine. So don't be afraid to pull somebody if you're interested in them.
Mino, did I miss anything when I was talking about Lise?
Do any of us have
no,
Lise?
you got it all. I was just gonna throw in my thoughts. I was gonna I know I saw in the question Star Shadow and somebody else wanted me to actually relate, because apparently all the past characters I related to, their source game, but we don't have time for that, unfortunately. Blame Square Enix for dropping all this content on us at once that we were 100% unprepared for. I'm pretty sure it came without warning, like little over 24 hours ago. But the only thing that I wanted to say, touching up on what Kreese and Mark said, is that yes, like through doing Entropy, yes, you need these certain characters to work, but I feel like Lise is the type of hybrid that I dislike, as in she's like a battery slash AoE DPS hybrid, I would say, or more like an AoE dump. That's what I was going to say when I was originally going to cover Lise, was that apparently her best quality is that she has a lot of AoE attacks, and if you battery and buff her to hell, she can actually do a ton of AoE damage, but she needs that support. She's just a conduit basically for it. But she batteries not as well as I would like for a full battery if we're talking Entropy, endgame chaos. Of course, if you want to use her for fun on co-ops and Cosmos, she works fine. But uh, in a support, she's not quite a DPS slot. She's not quite a support slot. Battery's not strong enough. I don't think attack's not strong enough. Her buffs are mostly to herself. She barely buffs anybody else with her auras, and she doesn't heal either. So I feel like she's in a really shitty spot. And I'm not going to claim to be a hands-on expert, but from what I have seen in a lot of previous videos and documents, she's just not used much, period, since her release. Like, people will try to slot her in here and there, and they'll admit that she's not fully pulling her weight. But I just really do not like the design of this character, because she's, like I said, she just doesn't do anything well, but she doesn't do anything unique either. And at this point, we've had 5 entropy levels, right? Each one needs at least some sort of healer, and her taking up a support slot kind of gimps you for that. Or if you want a battery, she's still not good enough for that, or even a shaver. So I just feel like she really is a waste of a slot, unfortunately, unless you have something to add to that, Strafe.
I'm just going to comment that I feel Lise kind of fits into the same role Kuja does, where she brings some benefit to the party, but her primary role is to do damage.
I think you guys covered everything. I think she's kind of like lackluster, doesn't excel in any field. That really holds her back because you have to really specialize and pick your roles if you have to plan out your teams. So like if she doesn't excel in anything, it's hard to actually slot her in because you're kind of carrying her at that point. She's not really helping out your team in like the vital position. She doesn't heal, which is a big problem
chat,
too.
Sorry, is asking if Elixir Field buffs the party. Lise does provide a small generic attack and max brave buff. However, if anyone else brings their own personal version or other party version, it's getting overwritten.
Oh, Erole brings up a great point. She says there's a lot of characters around her who honestly just do her job better, as in Bart's, who's coming very soon, or any other batterying DPS that just has much stronger auras, because her auras are very weak, I think. Oh, and you compared her to Kuja.
She doesn't really have auras. She has no attack auras. She has no max brave aura. She brings small generic buffs.
Yep.
The only thing she brings as an aura is int brave up and brave regen.
I want to touch upon the Kuja comparison, but maybe save that for Entropy, because I did run Kuja in Entropy, and I was comparing him to some characters, and I feel like his shaving ability is much, much stronger than Lisa's. At least even single target, or I don't know. Like, if I need to shave in a pinch, Lisa isn't the person I would go to, I think. But continuing on, I think we have all had our say on Lise, right?
Yeah, let's go to the podcast.
We cut
polls.
Strafe off a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Strafe, did you want to finish your thought?
No, I just kind of mentioned everything. I think she's kind of lackluster and doesn't really excel. So she's hard to fit on teams, and you kind of have to like carry her to that point. It's hard to like put her as like slot number 1 and say, okay, I'm going to build a Lise team, and she's going to be the vital component.
Right. I want to be proven wrong. I want Kreese to show us some impressive Lise clears later, for sure.
If I 3-3 her, I will do that. Right now, I'm still trying to decide if I want to do it or not, because there are a lot of enticing characters next month.
Makes sense. And as I said, I was going to talk about the source game, but we're cutting all that out. But I do want to say that this concept, as Star Shadow says, is a direct import of what Monk was for that Stormblood expansion. And in that expansion, Monk was considered a waste of a class slot, and there was a meme going around called Delete Monk for any FF14 player who knows that. So I'm saying it looks like the concept didn't work in either game.
Yay.
All right, that's all I...
Yeah, so podcast polls looking to what our community wanted to do with this banner, and also how they were going to invest in these characters. And if you want to join that, you just join our Discord, and under the podcast section of our Discord, we have podcast polls, and our good friend Quetz puts up these through MateriaBot every week. So 44 people were going to skip this banner. Now remember, the prize on this is definitely Y'shtola. A lot of people already have her EX. Her EX has already been featured. It's been in both EX shops. But 5 people were going to pity, 3 use gems, and 18 use tickets. So a lot of people.
I ticketed until I got Lisa's next.
I ticketed just because I didn't have enough Power Stones to MLB Y'shtola, and I didn't have her 35. I still ended up having to weapon token her 35, but I did get enough Power Stones to do anything else, and no Lise EX. So there you go. In terms of ingot usage, of the people who had Y'shtola EX, 1 was going to keep it as an EX, 4 were going to realize that EX, and 53 were going to fully realize it, 3-3. So you can see that most people were either going to just sit on it or go all in. Now, Lise, a little bit, about 7, it looks like, we're going to keep it as an EX. 5, we're going to just realize it. No one using just 1 ingot, no one using just 2, and 3 people using 3 ingots. So there's your podcast polls for the week. Tell us how you think, and nothing against if Lise is your favorite character. I don't know that person, but if Lise is your favorite character, then yeah, find a way to use her and make it work. That brings us to the co-op. We have Invader of Ruins, a limited time co-op that goes along with the chapter. And so that is a level 70 right now. Pretty easy based on the chaos fight, I believe, or the most difficult fight in that, or one of the more difficult fights in the story chapter. And we will talk about perhaps the chaos. I've seen some completes already of the chaos in the chapter. So we'll talk about that next week. Bring Y'shtola. That's going to be how it goes. So let's talk about what everybody really wants to talk about tonight. It's about what we've been talking about nonstop for the last 24 hours, and that is the unexpected early release of Dimensions End Entropy, the 3rd tier of Dimensions End, what we considered the permanent far ends of dimension in Japan. This has now become Dimensions End Entropy in Global, realizing that all 3, Order, Pathos, and Entropy, are going to be permanent content. So some of you may have not started Order or Pathos or finished Pathos yet. Now you have another permanent option in addition to that. So there is the big difference between Entropy as opposed to Pathos and Order is Entropy is all chaos, and Entropy will continue to grow. So right now we start with 5 tiers, and I believe, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's about 1 tier a month. They add a new tier about once a month. So once it gets going, it's actually not so bad, although it is rather difficult, and there will be shuffling around as you go because it just keeps going up, which means once we have 10 tiers, you're going to need 30 characters. Once we have 15 tiers, you're going to need 45 characters. Polish Prince is asking, was Entropy a surprise? It wasn't a surprise that we were going to get it. It was a surprise that we got it now. It was on Dissidia database, REM's database, but he then took it off, and that's whatever. But in Japan, they got it with Belthier and Kate Sith with that Awakening wave, so we're getting it a little early. And I guess, whether we knew we were going to get it with the maintenance was speculation. Anyway, it was not announced on the Square Enix stream earlier this month. Right, that's the major thing. That's the main thing. That's what we go by. That's our information. We are not we don't get into data mining and all that kind of stuff. So it was not officially
A lot of people are
announced.
saying it was on Dissidia DB as a countdown timer that was data mined. It turned out to be relatively correct, but we had no way to know that until it actually was announced.
The other thing was that Rem actually made a comment on Reddit saying that they removed the timer for a few days or something, and then that means people are not sure we're actually getting it, so they actually removed the timer in the game, and then we had like a 2-day or 1-day notice in the game that we were getting it.
Right. Oh, Mark, can I run through some background information really quick?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so as Mark said, we got this slightly early, about 3 weeks early. We're missing about 8 possible EX plus characters from this. So I was a little upset about this. I don't know other people. Well, actually, no. I know Main Cord was really upset because they had, people map out their, they map out their dimensions teams like months in advance.
I
You know
was
how
upset
GL
too.
is. Yeah, and then the plans are shattered because now we have an even more much more limited pool because some of these stages were built to promote the newest banners. For example, in Japan, this launched right when Balthier and Kate Sith came, like same day. It launched the same day as the Awakening banner that they came on, and it's so obvious if you look at the data that JP collects. The JP call to arms basically about like 80% of the players used Balthier on stage 5 of Dimensions End. It was just so built for him. It was ridiculous. All these characters buffing themselves, and that you want to dispel and steal their buffs. But this is permanent content. They did the beta, which was temporary in Japan, permanent for us, luckily. Um, it's all chaos stages, and I actually really, really like this content because I think the average player should not feel any pressure to complete this. I believe that Mark was talking about a lot of people resetting their stages, and I think that's if people rush to clear, like throw your strongest characters at some of the stages you can't clear. Clearly, you'll need them in the future. But also from what I've seen, it's made so that if you're pulling regularly every month, you should keep up no problem. Each stage is built with the last month's character, the month of its releases characters in mind that are perfect for the stage. Each and every stage, as long as you're pulling every month, it incentivizes that, which is a good thing or a bad thing, depending on your opinion, I guess. But if you're a diligent puller and not a hoarder, I guess it shouldn't be too hard to keep up with. I think the problem with this and the early release, as I'll hand the baton off to Strafe, is that I think they were trying to deliberately shake up hoarders because there's so many people like you know he who shall not be named leader of the Tomberry troop who 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 deliberately tried to save as many ingots and gems as possible, right? Like he was always talking about how his ingotless runs and his budget teams and about how proud he was of that. And then I'm sure, well, I think he decided to take his time, right? But I'm sure that if he wanted to keep up with this content, he could not carry on with that forever. We have Erole in the same boat too.
I'd also like to point out that this Dimensions End content is a major draw for some people. It's hard stuff, but it's permanent, which means if you can't complete it now, you can come back to it later. So I don't understand why people were freaking out when they knew it wasn't going anywhere, except for
right.
the desire to quickly rush and finish it like Mino was trying to do.
It's the pressure of the plates.
And I also want to
having
point
that.
out that Eons in chat is saying that Dimensions End coming to global is what's drawing her back to the global game because she's been almost exclusively a Japan player for a while now.
Oh yeah, it's 100% fun. I don't know if we want to talk about this now, but in our own Discord, we were having a lot of discussions about it, about how its dual nature of it is endgame content. A lot of vets are finding it fun. A lot of min-maxers who like to farm perfect artifacts and max all their boards, they're all loving it. This is clearly endgame content built for the most hardcore players to, because what's the point of building your characters if there's nothing to test it against? But it's also turning off the more casual players because they feel like they're forced, which Kreese says you shouldn't, because there's no time limited rewards tied to this at all, and it's meant to be power creep. If it's hard now, pull for a character in a month or two and they should be able to wipe it out easily. There's a lot of solo runs on a lot of these later in Japan when these characters just become so strong they can solo these turns. But there is the whole plate thing and the percentage of players clearing thing that probably exists to goad people on. So, I mean, did you guys want to talk about that? Like, how do you feel about this system, Mark.
Yeah, I feel fine. I didn't feel any pressure to do it right now
What
before the show.
What a liar. Oh, by the way, for anyone keeping score, first of all, it's Crystal Chronicles podcast versus Tonberry Troop. I think we're in the lead. We're claiming Strafe.
We're claiming
so they have a
Strafe.
gold on their team. Yes, I mean Strafe's pretty much a regular on our show
We're
now.
claiming-
Going to be,
Well,
but
we're
I
claiming,
believe
we're claiming Jin Lee too. So
it's 4 versus 4.
Oh, okay.
Mark, me, Crease, and Strafe versus Talute, Inkwelder, Dreamy, and Vane Novus, right? So Vane Novus was the first gold, representing. Strafe's gold will cancel him out. Mark and I are sitting at silvers, and
We're at
Crease has a
silver.
bronze, and I think I don't know, Dreamy's a silver, Ink's a bronze. It's a pretty close race, guys.
Dreamy is, I believe Dreamy is silver.
Yeah.
Ink is
I
bronze.
saw something from Talute earlier in the
Talute.
chat. He said he was taking a break from the game until after the holiday.
Yeah, well, there's no timeouts in war, so.
There's no timeouts in war.
I thought we won the war and then we lost the war. How is the war
I'm
still
so
going on?
confused.
It's World War II. I mean, DFFOO War II. But either way, I don't know. I thought it would be a fun competition. I liked seeing how we stack. It's 4 versus 4. It lines up symmetrically. But yeah, Mark, did you want to finish that thought?
I don't know. I don't know what thought I want to
Hey,
finish. No. See,
Your thoughts
I
on
kind of-
Entropy, basically. Like, how do you like this type of content?
oh, I love the idea behind it. I love the tower idea. I love having to use different teams and having those teams locked. I liked it when we've had heretics in the past. I liked Abyss. I like this. I think majority of people probably just need to take it at a good pace, realizing you're probably going to have a month or more to actually, do these 5 stages. There's tons of characters coming out next month, tons of great characters coming out next month. There's tons of good characters coming out in the next 3 weeks, let alone the next month. So, but of course, Mino and I wanted to try to complete it as soon as possible. Which
Yeah,
means
but we're not straight. I mean, yeah, we're not strafe. He I think he didn't do anything but marathon the first day, right, Strafe?
So
Pretty much. I was doing it like all day, running it over and over again.
like,
And then
like,
I got to my wit end, like at tier 4, and I couldn't beat it until like I got short like 500 points, and then Yashola came out and said, "Okay, it's time."
it's time.
Oh, okay. So you waited for Ish's release? Okay.
Yeah,
I had no choice. Like I couldn't beat it. It got past like the time that released. Like I was still doing the quest, and then I failed, and then she was released. So
Oh, and
I in.
I wanted to touch on that after Kreese gave his opinion, because Kreese is clearly the most patient out of all of us. He's in no rush for this. He's not changing his pull plans at all. I drastically changed my pull plans, which I'll talk about.
I definitely felt the pressure that you mentioned, where like it felt kind of like pushing players because it's an earlier time from JP, and we know that. So we know like Balthier is not available for, even though he's a top pick for tier 5. And then,
But the
some other
thing is,
options
we
are not
know
there, too.
Balthier's coming in a few weeks, so why not wait for it? There's no reason to race through it now. It's not going anywhere.
Oh,
It's
and that's
mostly,
what I
guess,
wanted to
the
talk about.
pressure of the plates, not being able to get gold for like a few weeks. Like
I'll
you have
be a
no
bronze
option to
plate
get
Yeah.
that.
scrub forever if necessary. I don't care enough about the plates.
There's a lot of people in our community who have more patience or don't care as much. Like, I think Macnol and Arolai and Inkwelder all said that, oh, well, we're not going to change our pull plans for this. We'll just play as it is. Like, don't let the pressure get to you. But, I mean, that's why I was saying, like, I don't know if it's the same for Mark and Strafe, but for me, like, this is the fun I have with the game. In MMOs, I'm a progression raider, which means it's a race to beat raids as soon as they come out. And that's the fun in it. Like, technically you have like half a year to beat a raid before the next one comes out, but I want that shit down in 3 weeks, and I will grind the hell out. The race is the fun of it. And like, I think people might be pressured to spend, maybe, which is bad, but I'm saying I have all these free resources. I have 5 pities worth of gems. Most of them are free, and I'm like, you know what, I'll fucking pull for Ferris to get this done now. You know, I'm like, it's in the at the end of the day, it's free currency. It's not like I actually paid money for this. I can spare this, and it's a unique challenge to get it done with the minimal roster available. I'm not saying everyone has to, but it is fun to kind of push
I'm
through it.
just going to cut you off and mention that you bought both ingot packages when the big ones came out over Black Friday. You have bought gems in the past, so quote unquote
Yes.
free resources are not necessarily free resources, and you have changed your pulling strategies just to try to get this done.
Yes, but I have more free gems than paid gems on my account. So in my head, I'm using the free ones, and then the paid ones
I'm
will
using
go
the
to the
free
future
ones.
bandit. Okay, this is how I'm.
Except for the
this-
Good
free
arguments, Dan.
players, you're actually what 6 ingots and 2 books ahead, that sort
Yeah,
of thing.
no, see, but
so
those.
you're
But I'm sitting
high-
on those though.
Yeah, exactly. We're not using those. The paid
Yeah.
ingots.
Yeah, we're not empty on ingots and books
Yeah.
to get this done. Technically,
Yeah.
I still have like 10 ingots and like 6 books or something for some reason. I don't know where the hell these all came from, but I did go out of my way to do it. And you know what? At the end of the day, I was kind of glad for it because I feel like this shakeup makes the game a little more fun for me personally. I'm not talking about everybody, but like if I was just following a spreadsheet and a tracker and only pulling and MLBing those, it would be pretty lame. And it taught me to appreciate a lot of characters that I wouldn't have otherwise appreciated. Like I really appreciate Ferris's kit now that I have hands-on experience. Rem's kit as well.
You can find a lot of like
So,
hidden
Mino, you
gems.
understand how Rem's frame buff works now?
Yes, now I do. And honestly, I was playing dumb at the time because it was just so embarrassing. I let it fall off. I knew the buff existed. I wasn't keeping track of keeping it on. So that really is really bad play.
For
on
those
my
not in the
part.
know, Mino shared a screenshot earlier today as he was trying to work through, I think, tier 2 of Entropy.
Yeah.
And Strafe said, "Wait, Mino, where's Rem's frame buff?" And Mino responded, "What frame buff?"
Now, don't feel too bad because that has happened to me. But I noticed that your EX charge was full, which means like you can't use the cure. You have to use the EX, and then you can go to cure. So you're behind like another round. That means you definitely let it fall off.
Yeah, I think we're getting too nerdy and too specific into these strategies. Actually, you know what? I think you guys want to talk about the fights, and then we'll
Yeah.
like talk about all our thoughts afterwards. There's a lot to talk about. I'm
You
sure.
can jump into tier 1 if you guys want. We can talk about the stages one at a time.
Sure.
And you guys can give input.
Kreese, do you want to cover stage 1? Are you confident you have a grasp on it?
I have a good enough grasp, but it's the only one I've done, so I might as well cover it because I will have nothing to contribute for the other tiers.
Yeah.
So let's do that.
Okay. I was thinking, guys, that we kind of keep it like we don't talk about the specific character strategies we use, more like the boss mechanics, so people know like what like they can kind of grasp in their head.
My plan was to just cover what type of strategy I went with, what strategies I tried after I discussed the bosses and what you actually do.
All right, go for it.
Okay, so tier 1 is a magic resist stage. Everything highly resists magic. Don't bring magic characters; they're not going to work. 5 stage. I think all of the chaos fights are 5 stages. Am I correct?
Yes.
There's I checked on that.
And then it's always 2 boss
Okay.
fights, I believe, and then the rest are trash waves, pretty much.
Yeah, it goes trash wave, 3rd wave is a boss wave, 4th wave is trash, 5th wave is final boss. So the way it works for tier 1 is that the 3rd wave is Rydia Prominence. It's basically Mom Bomb. It starts with 2 small bombs already active, and pretty much anytime you kill those small bombs, it's very likely to reactivate them. The way the boss works is it does a lot of attacks, mostly AoE magic, single target magic. The small bombs like to battery each other and the boss. They like to do just small attacks. And they'll HP attack a lot if you let them. The big thing you got to be careful of is that the main Prominence boss will swell over time. And once it reaches a certain threshold, you have to break it to keep it from doing an attack that will possibly kill your party outright.
I have a quick question.
If you break it, it'll reduce in size, it'll lose stats, it'll remake ads, and then the cycle will start over. What was the question?
Oh, so I don't know if any of you guys know. I don't think I got this down to a science. So sometimes when you break it, it'll shrink one size, and then sometimes it'll go all the way down. From what I've seen, it'll only go all the way down if one of the ads is dead.
That might be true. I didn't experiment enough to be able to tell. I did notice it was shrinking more in the earlier attempts I did because I brought a lot more AoE DPS and I was killing the ads more frequently.
Yeah.
In my kill, when I perfected it, I only killed the ads once because I was intentionally sticking to single target attacks.
Right. Oh, and that's a good tip too that I found out late is that you don't have to kill the ads. You just have to kill the main boss and you're done.
Oh yeah, once
Correct.
the prominence boss dies, the small ads disappear. So that's really what this is. The main boss has a lot of health, the small ads have a lot of health. If you try to AoE DPS through this, it will not work. I think my
The other
first
thing is
attempt, I tried to bring like Cloud and Agrius, and Cloud was just doing nothing when he did meteor range to the main boss. So he was doing a lot of theoretical damage, but most of it was wasted.
The other thing it gets is like really high defense after it swells, and
Yeah.
the ads just throw brave batteries on him as
Yeah.
well, so he can jump up like 6k. And if you haven't broken, then he just gains 6k. Then all of a sudden he's not broken, then he can do big bang. So there's a lot of like finesse you have to work around. But basically, yeah, you summon. I mean, you focus on the main bomb, and you kind of ignore the ads. Is the strategy.
One thing I'll also note is that trying to break these guys in order, I didn't bother with it. I just focused damage on the main boss and let the small guys do what they wanted. This was mostly because in my final run, I just brought Warrior Light so I could take the brave hits for the most part. But you really only want to break the small lads if you're afraid they can actually do threatening HP damage in my practice so far. You're going to take some HP damage, or you have to focus on breaking the ads very frequently. So just be ready with some healing options.
So I don't know if we'll ever get that confirmed. If any listeners can let us know, or any of the other hosts, about that whole, if an ad is dead and you break it, then it shrinks even more. But that's how I thought it worked. And what worked for me was staggering HP damage. So not like 100% well spread and then break. But like Kreese said, kind of staggering it, not really focusing on the ads unless I had to.
Anything else about Prominence, or should we move on to the last wave?
Any thoughts, Mark? Oh, I think it was harder than the main boss wave. I think this was the hardest boss wave in this fight, for sure.
Yeah, wave 3, definitely harder than wave 5.
Yeah,
I agree. It was just such a big damage soak. The Prominence has so much HP, and it can do so much damage if you don't watch out, that I thought it was more problematic.
Yeah,
I definitely had to do a lot more resets on that wave.
Definitely. Here's the thing. This is my wake-up call to Entropy, because this was the hardest fight for me, because it took me a while to adjust my mindset, which was basically one, expecting the hardest fight to the end and kind of conserving your skills for that. That's not always the case for every Entropy stage. I learned quickly. I had to adjust that here, and then also that like you're planning it's basically, when do you hit the acceleration and when do you pump the brakes for a lot of these. This is get through this as fast as possible, as efficiently as possible. The last wave is easier, I think.
Yeah, we...
Okay.
Just a reminder, too, that these are very long battles. All 5 of these battles are, around 100 turns, I believe. So, or up to 130 turns at some point. So, yeah, they're not quick battles. They are marathons. Yeah.
I think Mino meant to like speed through that boss because that's the most dangerous wave. Like
exactly.
You can't let it be swirling like the whole time. So you have to kill it fast. It's kind of the same thing with tier 3 with the Mare Lift. Like you can't stay in there or you're gonna die.
No, I think how Mino said it, you got to know when to press the accelerator and when to pump the brakes. I mean, I think that's a great analogy when you're coming at these tiers and at these battles.
Yeah, I know the other fight's much better. Here was just, I just remember 3 being a pain in the ass, and 1 was easy. I mean, the last wave was easier, but not by too much. It still required skills and concentration. But go ahead, Kreese, take us to the next one.
The final wave is Funbaba and a King Behemoth. So Funbaba harkens from Final Fantasy VI. I think it's appeared in a couple of story chapters now. Funbaba's basics are that it uses a mixture of physical and magical attacks. It has one thing that can just delay a person forever. So you got to be careful of who it targets when it decides to do the big delay. It has a relatively dangerous Brave plus HP attack, so be careful letting it do that because it can generate a lot of Brave when it does that if you're not careful. King Behemoth, I think everyone's seen King Behemoth now. It does a generally harmless phase where it just does single target Brave attacks, mostly physical, but a couple of magical attacks. It goes into a phase where it buffs itself, and then it does a couple of massive AoE attacks, followed by a massive Brave plus HP attack, which you got to be careful of. It can be pretty aggressive in this phase. I took the Gyro Tail Brave plus HP attack AoE, and then healed up a bit, and then it immediately went into another HP attack straight from a break. So kind of similar to Prominence, you're going to take HP damage. Be careful. King Behemoth is weak to fire, so I actually brought Ifrit and focused on Funbaba first. Once Funbaba was dead, I activated Ifrit and burned down King Behemoth pretty quickly, was my general strategy for that wave. You just got to be careful of the breaks because these guys can do a lot of damage very fast if you're not careful. That was my biggest fear.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I actually took a different approach. I killed King Behemoth first,
Really?
and he was my target like before the Humbaba. So I summoned before like King Behemoth got his self buffs, and I killed him like before he did anything basically, and then I focused Humbaba by himself. From what I've seen, Humbaba, the Brave plus HP, he can do that from broken status too.
Yep.
But like I debuffed him, so the attack was pretty weak. But my team didn't have a healer, so I just tanked the damage, and that was that. But I think without debuffers, it can be pretty high.
I did the same thing as Strafe. I killed the King Behemoth first.
That's interesting. I was going to say the other thing, I said the most important thing I learned about Entropy is when to slow down and when to go all out. The second thing was kill order of bosses. A lot of my Entropy progression was figuring out which boss do I want dead first. So for me, that was Funbaba here because... So King Behemoth had an insanely predictable pattern. It was... the tackle combos. You know, he does that 3 big physical hits. As long as you have about like 15k, I think you're fine. And then he targets self to buff, and then he does 2 lightning lashes, and then he does an AoE HP attack. That was constant. I tested it. He does the same 5-turn rotation. Wait, 6-turn rotation. So he was really easy to work around. I wanted Funbaba dead because I could not tell what the hell he was doing. Like, I don't know. Huh? Go ahead.
Does the Behemoth do the AoE HP when he's broken though?
He will,
yes.
Yes.
Okay,
After 2 lightning lashes, he'll do either Gyro Tail if he has Brave, and if he's broken, he casts Meteor. Meteor is a self battery into HP, evenly split, and then Gyro Tail is just an evenly split HP. So depending on his break state, he'll do one or the other. So super easy and predictable. But Funbaba, I don't know what the fuck his AI pattern is.
I was in the same boat as Mino. I could pretty much guess what the King Behemoth was going to do turn by turn, but I didn't know what Funbaba was going to do, and I wanted to get rid of him because I did not like characters getting delayed to oblivion.
Right, from what I could tell, it was not really easy to read when he was just going to do a Brave attack like Solar Plexus, or when he was going to do his Needle Brave plus HP, which could kill if he was not broken. So I burned him ASAP. I kept him locked down as much as possible, and then I took my turn on took my time with Behemoth because, like I said, super easily predictable pattern. Anything else on this one, guys?
I used
no.
Vincent.
I just think like debuffers work.
Yeah,
debuffers like Vincent work pretty good here because you can just get rid of the buffs and lower their attack power. Like Humbaba and the Behemoth, they won't do like any damage if you like debuff their attack power. So I wasn't even aware that the Behemoth does AoE HP from broken status. I just killed him first because I thought he was most dangerous. But I debuffed both bosses to the point where, like, again, they're not going to do any damage regardless. So you bring like Lily said, or Vincent, Tidus, or Pain, for example, you're going to shut down the bosses pretty good.
Yeah, a lot of people said Tidus is good for this.
That is a good point. These guys are vulnerable to all debuffs. So if you have a debuffer, consider bringing them here. It would help. I did not bring a debuffer. The only debuffs I had were Agrius's infrequent paralyzes and silences, Warrior Light sometimes provoking, but I saved a lot of his throw bucklers for when I could, and Ramza getting Innervate debuffs off every once in a while. So I was running mostly on just stacking offensive buffs and auras.
Grease is actually
And
really good here because she can dual function in the bomb stage and shut down Big Bang with the EX ability. But I like Agrius in stage like a later tier, stage 5. But she works wonders here too.
yeah, I had to use it because I just wanted to lock down Fun Bubba as much as possible because I couldn't read his pattern. But Mark, sorry, you were in the middle of a thought too, right? Did you have any
Someone
last
in
things to
chat
add
is
before we
saying
move
that
on?
Zell actually works really well here because he has the defense down. He actually has a lot of HP splash damage and some AoE Brave Shave, so that's a good point too. So sorry, Mark.
No, I used Vincent, my 0 ingot investment Vincent, and Vincent, and he shut down the bombs and the final wave pretty easily. Yeah, so yeah.
All right, fight 2. Which one was this again?
Tier 2
Physical
is
resistance
I
with
have
the
the notes in the outline, but it's physical resist with Skull Wizard, Axel
Yep.
Turbo, and Griffin.
the Skull Wizard being
Oh, the fucking
particularly
Griffin.
and you start. This is the first wave of this is the Skull Wizard battle. So
Right.
this one is a little different where the first wave is very, very dangerous. Then you have 3 kind of pud waves, and then you have a fairly dangerous wave at the end, or you've just spent all your resources, and so you just have to try to figure out how to beat it at the end. So
Right. Always find the mini boss wave. There's always 2 boss waves, 3 trash waves. This one was wave 1, wave 5 were the bosses. So you have to go all out from the beginning here. Mark, do you want to cover this one? Take the lead.
yeah, these bosses all buff themselves very, very much, and painfully so. So a debuffer is really good. Obviously, there's only so many dispellers you can bring, but you fight 2 enemies, and the Skull Wizard's very, very. I mean, we've fought him. He's the Kefka boss several different times, and they're just very damaging, and they can come out a break and kill you, and it sucks. So you really do want to focus on him and get him dead, and then the little laser cat. Does he have the ability to actually? He can confuse you, yes, and paralyze you. Yeah, I was thinking there was another one that actually turns you to stone. That he doesn't turn you to stone, but
No,
he
not
can.
him.
Oh no.
But you are likely to get confused here and there, which you just kind of have to eat. It could kill a run depending on when it happens. So you might have to restart if you get confused or paralyzed at a bad time. I suppose you could bring some kind of resistance to that. I certainly didn't. You want to bring all magic characters to this. Your physical characters aren't going to do any good. But yeah, definitely you gotta start with the Skull Wizard and keep him broken and fight him down and make sure that he's not going to be able to take any of your characters out. And then you kind of have to work through these next 3 tiers, or these next 3 waves, excuse me, so that you actually have resources and abilities left to actually beat the Griffin and the Match Attack, which are, difficult
Before
in
you
themselves.
get there, let's talk about the first wave a little more. The thing I found is you need you either need poison or sap, or you need some. What does what does the Skull
He
Wizard
batteries off of
attack? Or you
Yeah.
need a huge attack debuff, or he is going to give himself like 11k or something
Yep.
and
Yeah,
kill
he
someone
starts
right
off
off
at
the bat.
9k, like
Yeah.
in the beginning of the fight, but then once you hit like thresholds, it gets increased in passive stats. Like attack is one of them.
Yeah.
So he starts to gain like up to like 11k and more, and he can
Yeah.
just one shot your guys.
Yep.
So like an attack debuffer, Sarah is really good because she's also magic here.
Right.
So she's like a key unit. Without Sarah, I don't know what other choices do you have.
Sounds like Vanille will be a pretty good option when she gets reworked in a month.
A reworked video
Probably.
probably would be good. Yeah.
I
Other than like
relied
bursting
on
him down.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Mark?
No, go ahead. Ramu's
Oh,
saying.
that's it. That's the big threat here.
Who did you use?
Oh, sorry.
Mia?
Go
Did you use
ahead,
Sarah?
Mark. Go finish.
I use.
Yeah, I use Sarah and Charlotta.
Yeah. Me too.
Oh wait, no, I didn't use Shara. Who did I use? I need to look it up. I used Charlotta and somebody else, but I needed a double stack a sap / poison to make sure
Because
he
poison
didn't
is
kill me
good,
right
but
away.
poison doesn't prevent the big battery gain. Like you can write off his attack buff because he does get a generic attack buff as well as like one of the five one of the five generic buffs. So that
Yeah,
is a valid strategy if you just bring a debuffer.
it looks like I did Rem and Charlotta, and it's basically I don't know how I kept his stuff from killing me, but
Got rid of
if
the generic attack buff probably.
maybe, and then Rem with some clutch switches to make sure he was always like at 0. But I hate him. He's the big threat. I think the cat just wastes your time with
Yep.
paralyze and
Confuse.
yeah. But oh yeah, so the last wave mark.
You fight the Griffin and the Magic armor, and they can both do a lot of damage. The Griffin is probably the more dangerous of the two, right? Because it has
For sure.
it goes between
The
the
charm.
airborne and the grounded. Can get a whole bunch of brave real quick. It does have some AOE attacks as well, I believe. Just looking at it, it's been a while since I fought this one, but
I just
And one of them can charm your party.
yeah, I just remember
with AoE
the
attack.
feather cologne attack
oh yeah,
pissed me off. I just had to cross my
Yep.
fingers and hope because sometimes your entire party can lose their turn, and that really.
Yeah,
But yeah, I wanted
there's definitely
ASAP.
an AOE issue. Yeah, the Feather Cologne, group magic attack, low chance of inflicting charm, and low turn rate. So if it does do that, yeah, that's a really bad debuff, and you may just have to restart that round to
Yeah.
be able to do that. So
And then the Magitech was pretty manageable again because it's mostly single target attacks. As long as
Yeah.
you don't get broken and you keep the brave low, it's not going to do much. It just hits harder and harder over time, but that's it. It's fine.
and again with the Sarah and Charlotta with the poison and the sap and the debuffs, that kind of keeps that stuff managed, but you still have to make sure you're doing the right kind of damage. I'm seeing a whole bunch of other people, people who brought Lena, people who brought Cryo, people who brought Deuce, Realm, Porum. So it looks like there's some options. Macnol is working. He got the first part of the Call to Arms for Pathos up. He is working on Call to Arms for Entropy. So I think people will find some interesting interesting clears on this, especially as we get some other characters. So
It'd be tough to start in Lena here because she's kind of resistant on the
yeah,
range attacks.
magic, yeah. So
So
that'd
you
be
need to be doing a
interesting.
lot of Brave
Yeah.
plus.
Yeah, but most people only bring Lena for the battery anyway. They don't really expect her to do any brave damage, I think. All right, Strafe, do you want to take us through 3?
Sure. So tier 3 is no special resistances on the waves. The first boss fight is the Lich and then the Mare Lift. So the Lich is the old one, as we all know. The first attack is just a dispelling move, but it gets rid of all your non-frame buffs. It also inflicts doom on your character.
Is this
which
wave 1? I forget.
I don't know,
No.
but it's my notes.
It's
It
3.
may is it?
Wave
No,
3.
wave
Okay,
3?
so
It's 3, right?
yeah, so mid boss is on wave 3 for this one. Looks like, right?
So you have to build up to the boss wave.
Yeah.
You'll know if there's trash waves or not based on like the mobs, how they look, because
Yeah.
the main bosses are big and there's only 2 of them.
Well, that brings us
So-
to wave tier 4, which I'll talk about later, where the trash waves are like. Oh, well, we'll talk about. Okay, but go ahead. Yeah, and it is wave 3.
Wave 3, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so wave 3, the Lich and the Mare Lift. And the first move, he inflicts Doom on your character, which is an instant break after 3 turns. So if you can prevent that with debuff evasion characters or elude, like on Warrior of Light, that would be good. There's also Mare Lift here. She is the more dangerous boss. She gets a lot of self buffs. She raises attack and speed. And then she has a big, dangerous AoE attack. It's called Flash of Steel. It's a heavy hitting group AoE HP attack. That pretty much KOs your party. Even if you're like at full HP, full max bravery, you're just gonna die
It's
if you don't have
horrible.
any kind of debuffer or mitigation.
Yep.
So Warrior of Light is definitely recommended here because he can just prevent that damage. But I've noticed that she can kind of like go through his shields because her attack is just so high that I brought another unit to help him out. But Warrior of Light is very key for that. Anything else you guys want to mention about the Lich
Yeah,
and Mare Lift?
I brought Lulazette and Warrior of Light just to mitigate and prevent the onslaught of attacks and also focus the attacks on one character, because the Marilys, as we just were fighting the Marilys in Machina's event, they can be pretty relentless, and so it's nice to have a tank. And right now we just don't have. We're going to get a whole bunch of tanks, but right now we just don't have the tanks that we really need to do some of this content. So it's nice that we do have at least one decent tank, and he can tank those hits. And Lilith just helps keep the damage down a little bit, so it's more manageable.
Mark, who was your third? Ultimisha?
Yeah, Ultimisha. Oh yeah.
Okay, so did you do this without much difficulty?
So 115 turns, I did it in 95. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty good.
I think I overkilled this. I did Wall, Ultimisha, and Sarah, and it's just nothing. Like with the debuffs and the shields, they literally never did any damage. So and then like Sarah plus Ultimisha means 100% equal AoE, so I just took all the waves down equally. But yeah, I don't have much to comment on it because somebody told me this was the hardest wave. I believed them, so I went in guns blazing with my strongest possible team.
It is hard if you don't have the right strategy or approach, which is like Warrior of Light or some kind of like mitigation. Because if you don't like debuff her and you don't have shield your party, you will die because her attack power is so high. So that was hard because I tried initially without Warrior of Light and like no debuff her really, and it wasn't working.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I tried like a full offensive Ultimisha team and it wasn't.
Boss, right?
What's that?
Oh, it looks like well, I don't know if Garland in chat got the clear like this, but he says Ulti, Rem, and Sarah. That sounds like a full offensive Ulti team, right?
Oh yeah.
Did you get the clear?
Pretty good because Sarah like debuffs the Marilith. Marilith has a lot of self buffs, kind of like the Skull Wizard does. I think she has like 5 buffs. One of them is attack, and one of them is like a fire enchant. So if you get rid of those buffs, then her damage should be much lower.
All right,
so
and then
the final wave is the Kraken and Tiamat. And, of course, Tiamat has the Dispelling ability as well, I believe, and some pretty devastating attacks. Although I think the Marilith was much more difficult than Tiamat. I think we fought Tiamat so many times, too. Remove
Tiamat,
all buffs.
the AoE. Yep. The first AoE is removing all your non-frame buffs again, but he does have an AoE HP attack. It's called Jet Burst.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as powerful as the Marilith from what I've seen. Even if you don't debuff him, like the damage is not quite on par as to what she can do. Yeah. He's just a little bit more tankier, but he's not as dangerous. The main boss here is definitely going to be Marilith. But I killed Tiamat first. Yep. That was my strategy. I didn't really remember anything specific about the Kraken.
The Kraken.
I just remember the Kraken hitting hard, so I tried to kill him first. Oh, like Kraken's like the Marilith. They just hit hard and fast. So would you say Wave 3 is the harder wave here?
I would say so, but I built my whole team to counter Wave 3, which was Warrior of Light and FMAL to like shield all debuffs, shield his team, buff his shields more, and then I had an offensive unit Ultimisha. From my experience, Wave 3 was harder for sure.
Strafe went overboard with the Warrior of Light and FMAL. No one's defying my shields.
Any thoughts on that last wave, Mark?
No. Kill Tiamat. Kill the Kraken. Beat the wave. And then
let's go to 4.
Get to tier 4, the respite. The oasis of the tower.
Tier 4 was fun. Oh, was tier 4 easy for you guys? I don't remember. I wouldn't say it was easy for me, but it was fun.
Tier 4 was the
Let's
easiest.
see. This is the one with multiple single.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I ran both. No, I think the problem I was struggling with is a third. I couldn't find a good third, and I ended up going with Kuja. See, I was failing tier 2 a lot because I kept trying to use Kuja, and it wasn't working. And so I was like, I want to use Kuja because I 3-3'd him when I didn't want to, just for Soul Cage, because fuck that fight. So I wanted to find somewhere to use it. He ended up slotting in here, so I'm pretty happy about that. I thought Wave 4 was really fun, really interesting. So the boss waves of this one are actually Wave 2 and Wave 5. So Wave 1, you fight the Catoblepus.
Chocobo plus.
Chocobo plus. Okay, thank you, Kreese. So that's the first one.
That's the thing that can turn you to stone.
Yes.
You
Yes.
mean Ogre Eye?
Yes. And so it's considered a trash wave because you can kill it really fast. Most people I see kill it in like 7 turns. But the key is to not let it get a single turn. The very first turn, it will turn one person to stone, and they'll be stone for the rest of that wave. And either make sure it's targeting someone non-essential like an aura bot, or make sure you kill it before it gets any attacks off.
It doesn't always do that first, or maybe it can miss because the first time I did it, it turned somebody to stone. Then the second time I did it, I didn't have to kill it before it acted.
Maybe
Not
you
scripted. Yeah.
No. Maybe you got evasion because I for sure reset over a dozen times and it always broke first because I wanted to really test it. Because that was the one where in my first couple of runs I was like, I'll let someone go to stone, and then eventually I was like, you know what? If I don't let anyone go to stone, it saves a ton of turns, saves a lot of turns. So it does break first, so watch out for that. So either, like I said, if it's targeting someone non-essential, whatever, or just try to kill it ASAP. Then you get to the second fight, the second wave, it's the stupid stone chimera from Prisha's event. And that's the one where it starts stacking invisible buffs every like quarter of its health bar. And it's not really a threat, I don't think, but it is tanky and it is killing your turns. That's where I summoned. That's where I blew the majority of my skills for sure. I think Kuja works so well because, the different colored heads. If you remember from Prisha's event, I forgot. I tried to brute force it, but they all have different behaviors that you can actually predict and read really easily. And they have different elemental weaknesses and you can exploit. And there's not too much to it just to figure out that this is the one where you blow your summon on and kill ASAP. Oh, you use the old Prish strategy. Remember when Prish's event first came out? You summon right before its invisible buffs start coming on.
Yep.
Then you nuke the hell out of it. Then when it gets to its turn, it turns on the invisible buffs.
Yeah, I think this
noticed
is
that he actually does the buffs even if you're in summon, unless it's the tough skin one, which is visible.
Yeah,
that one he does it only on his turn.
Right. So the common strategy is, because I think it'll try to do its first buff at like 75% HP. If you summon just before that, when like the HP bar is at the A of the break, is what I use as my indicator. And then I bursted the hell out of it with launches and stuff, and then
Super
it was
early.
a piece of cake after. What? Don't tell me how to play Strafe. I got the But Mark, what were you gonna say? You had a comment?
No, I thought this was a good, considering the final boss, shuts out your summon. This is a decent wave to summon in. I just waited to before his HP attack, his AOE HP attack, to summon and then killed it. But yeah.
Right, and then so the one after that is a little angel thingy. They all look like mini bosses, but these are actually trash waves. They die really fast.
They do die pretty quick. Yep.
Yeah, so they're pretty much trash waves. You can conserve your skills.
When I put my notes in the outline, I hadn't tried. I still haven't tried this. I noted that they were all mini bosses or boss enemies from previous events, so I listed each wave's creatures.
But you only have to. I mean, they are boss creatures, but you only have to fight one of them. So
they have the AI, but they die in like 5 turns. I like these are the trash waves you don't even want to use skills on, where you use your like HP pluses and stuff and your free abilities. But they have the boss AIs, but they don't live long enough to do much with them. But basically, it's 2 more trash waves, and you reach the final fight, which is I forget. Oh, right, the Ultima Angel. That it blocks your summon. So as they were saying, you want to summon on Manticore because that's the best way to use it. Burst it before the invisible buffs. And the Ultima Angel is very, very predictable, and it's just a marathon. It doesn't do anything special. It'll do like Holy Ja, which is an AoE Brave, and then it'll do single target Braves. They're all single hits. They can never do more than 999 damage. So all you make sure is whoever it's targeting has 10k Brave at least, and you are fine for this fight. And it's just meeting the turn requirement. Don't forget, once it hits half health, it heals back to full, and then once it heals back to full, it enters a second phase where once in a while it'll do an AoE Brave plus HP attack, and that is it. And the only struggle of this fight if you couldn't tell already, it's a DPS check. The mechanics are very, very simple, but the bosses are extremely tanky, and you just need to make sure you do enough damage each turn to make the turn count.
Just to clarify for the listeners, how many ingots were in that party that you brought to this fight?
For me, 6.
Oh, okay. So Ace or
Also note that
yeah.
I'm sorry. Am I speaking from a place of privilege? Did I just do massive amounts of damage?
Yeah. Did you? I thought you brought Cloud, Y'shtola, and your Y'shtola.
Oh shoot, you're right. This is a full. This is a full purple.
Yeah. So I brought the same team.
No,
I brought Cloud.
Okay.
Cloud, Kuja, and Y'shtola all fully MLB realized. I beat it in, it's 135 turns. I beat it in under 115. But
right, same.
Barely, but only got the score by about 30,000. So, it's not, it's going to be tough if you're not bringing that kind of firepower.
You reminded me of
like
a great...
Ultima doesn't do the AoE on the first phase, but it can do that. Because I lasted like long enough where it does rotate into the AoE during the first phase, and then it also does that in the second phase.
Oh, okay. I never saw the Brave plus HP. I saw Holy Jaw, but never the other one. But okay, so that's good to know. I guess it's
if you're lagging.
Okay. Mark, you brought up a great point. Like I never thought this was a hard fight, and I always got under the turn count with other teams, but I never hit the score count, right? Just like you said, I fell short of the score a little bit. And then who the hell was I using before Kuja? I was using Noctis. Somebody, I think Strafe, told me Noctis was good for this fight. He was not. He's
not
garbage.
For wave 4, no.
Garbage.
Vayne was good.
Then I like mistook your words because we were talking about something and I was asking about who the hell is my third for wave 4, and then you said Noctis. You might have been talking about another fight, but you said Noctis. Look, you can search it in our Discord. And I was like, "Are you sure Noctis really?" And then you were like, "Oh, their defense is static and it doesn't increase, so it should be
wave 5.
Well,
yeah, he said it for wave 5.
They have the thresholds.
Well, then I mistook it and wasted an hour or so of my life trying to run Noctis through this. But the point is, what I finally learned is score is a big issue here. And I remember I saw a lot of talks of either bring launchers and maximize your launches. Mark, what really cemented this run for me was making sure that every time Cloud got finishing touch, it was a full launch with a full follow-up. That got me score easily. But they're like, either you bring a launcher and maximize launches to hit score, or you need to be under 95 turns if you don't want to bring a launcher.
So I did this at 100 turns actually, and I still made score. But you can bring a bunch of free turn units, like Ramza is pretty good here. It's a long fight. He has Brave Regen. He goes the distance. And then I used Vayne and Y'shtola to kind of like... Y'shtola is like obviously really powerful, but you can bring some free turn users to kind of bypass the launch requirement.
Well, and Y'shtola synergizes great with Ramza and actually does pretty well with Vayne too.
He can bump the Brave.
Yeah.
So basically, either launch or expect to come way under the turn count. Because you said what turn count was 135?
Yeah, it's 135, but
that's the requirement.
And then Strafe said without a launcher he needed like 100. So
no, my score was like 399k over 310k, so there's still some room there.
Oh, okay. But I mean, expect 20 to 30 turns under basically, because every other tier, as long as I was under the turn count, I was fine. All right, Strafe, you're the only one that beat 5. You want to take the lead here?
Well, we beat it.
Okay, sure thing. Tier 5?
It's a piece of shit fight. I need stronger units.
Did we talk about the units for 4, though? Like suggested units? Did we cover them?
I mean, like I said, launcher and big damage and free turns between you and me. That's pretty much what we said, and I think that's pretty accurate. Okay. It's just a slog of a fight. You want marathon runners, and that's it. Yeah.
Okay, so tier 5 is just 5 waves of mannequins. They are heavily resistant to magic. The first wave is dangerous because it's Kate Sith, Cypher, and Sid. And Kate Sith buffs the whole party right away with Mog Dance, and he gives everybody HP regen, which regens their HP for like 36k per turn, which is a lot. And you can't really out DPS it, at least not right now. So the strategy is to bring a Dispeller or to shut down Kate Sith some other way, like paralyze or just nuke him down. So Ferris is obviously number one choice, Balthier as well, but once he gets his EX plus weapon.
3 weeks
And then the
later,
other
who wants
strategy-
to wait that long?
Yeah, like who wants to wait a couple weeks, right? And then the other strategy is just to nuke down Kate Sith single target, right? So single target users would be like Squall. Agrius is a sleeper hit here because she can delay a Kate Sith out of 2 rounds with guaranteed, and then you can give time for Squall to like kill Kate Sith. So that's another strategy. For me, I use Rem plus another single target user. I use Noctis with Agrius, so I paralyze Kate Sith and just swap turns and just went to town with Noctis to kill Kate Sith before he even got the buff. So that way you don't need a Dispeller. The next wave is or do you guys want to talk about the first wave or?
I mean, well, Mark, did you have any thought? Wait, actually, Strafe, what I wanted to ask you, did you run a non-Dispeller team?
I just mentioned I ran Agrius, Rem, and Noctis. There's other strategies where you can just bring single target like Squall. Yeah, I did manage to pull it off. But I've seen other people, Akitaru did, Agrius, Lilithset, and Squall. That works as well. But Agrius is key because she can paralyze Kate Sith, for 2 rounds. That gives you time to kill him.
Yeah.
So I use Noctis and Rem. It's kind of like the same idea where you paralyze him, but then you can still.
I was actually thinking about stealing that strategy and freeing up my Agrius from tier 1, but I do not want to do tier 1 again. Fuck that fight forever.
Thing is, if you're gonna do like Rem here, you definitely need, or I would recommend 3 out of 3. I don't know if she's viable at 0 out of 3 here because the magic resist really hinders her damage output. But if you max purple her, then she batteries the party every time she uses the EX weapon, so it helps out with longevity, and she can do some decent damage even despite the resistance from 0. The next
Mark, any thoughts on wave 1?
Kill Kate Sith.
Sorry.
Nope. Yeah,
Mark?
kill Kate Sith. Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Fuck this fight and all its buffs. Swear to God,
it's straightforward. Just, what the danger is just Kate Sith. It's literally you have the tactics to deal with him or you don't.
Yep.
No, this is selling Balthier. Every wave, he just has to do one snatch shot. He becomes a god. Gets like every character in the game's unique buffs. Like, oh, I got Onion Knight, Sage, and Ninja buffs on me, and like fucking what's Sephiroth's buff? All of these people have framed buffs that just make him a god. He just hate this fight.
That reminds me that Yuffie rework is also coming.
Oh yeah,
that's
month.
true. Yeah,
so
yeah. Yuffie has
another thief who can steal buffs is coming.
And I believe her
but
EX
Yuffie only
plus...
steals 1 buff at a time, right?
No, her EX... Is it 1 buff at a time? I thought it was more.
Unless it's reworked.
Either way, her EX makes it so the enemy can't be buffed for a while.
Do they start off buff? Because Kate Sith X run away. Like, that Mog Dance is going up. You know what I mean?
Maybe. But I mean, there are 4 other waves too. I'm sure she's super useful throughout the whole thing.
It's true, but if you can't beat wave 1, you're not going to beat it. And like them healing 36k per turn, you're not going to beat it or make score.
Right.
That's wave 1. The next wave is Kane and Yang.
Pretty trash wave, right? No
yeah, pretty trash wave. But actually, Yang does AOE HP attacks.
He does.
I don't know if it's from break or not, but it's kick, and he can do the AOE HP plus.
Yeah.
If you bring Leviathan, you can get that permanent regen for your entire team here, so it's pretty nifty. But yeah, again, nothing too dangerous with them. So stage 3.
Strafe is next level. Jesus.
I mean, wave. I ran into that by accident. I was just playing, and then I said, "Oh, he just AOE my team, so I get free regen." So the next wave 3 is Onion Knight Lightning. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say, I just realized this fight is 3 boss waves. I'd call it wave 1, 3, and 5. Yeah, fuck. No wonder I hate this fight. But go on.
It's definitely 1, 3, and 5, but the other ones they're more than filler. They're not like trash waves because they can actually do stuff to you. You do have to take into consideration to like manage their brave and keep them broken. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they can do damage to you. So wave 3 is Onion Knight Lightning and Agrius. This is another boss wave, as you pointed out. Everybody's pretty dangerous here. Agrius heals the team passively with the Brave Knight buff. So you kind of have to target her first. As soon as she does that, she batters the team, and then she provides constant brave regen and HP regen. Lightning and Onion Knight have high turn rate, especially when they break you. They can get some turns like right away. So the target you have to kill Agris first, and then the other two you can work your way down. You guys have any different approach?
No, I think that's a good point about Agrius and her healing the party. Because Lightning's the most dangerous of the three.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, if they're all healing, you're just wasting turns, and Onion Knight can ramp up real quick. So all three of them, it's a pretty challenging wave. Yeah, you don't get a lot of rest.
I think it's each one of the waves, every wave, it's like the very age-old RPG tactics. I've been using this since early Final Fantasies. You kill the healer first, always kill the healer first, then kill the biggest DPS, and then work your way through. So healer first no matter what, then whoever's hitting you the hardest, and then Agrius, Lightning, Onion Knight. I agree. As long as Onion Knight doesn't break you, he won't kill you.
Chris, do you have anything to add to the waves?
I haven't tried it yet, so I generally agree with everything you've said so far based on hypotheticals.
So what Mino was saying, like targeting the healer, I felt like this tier 5 was very unique because we didn't really have anything like you need to kill this specific target first. Besides like the more dangerous boss, obviously, but
who are the last
this specific
three
mechanic. I mean, like to target a specific healing mechanic. I felt like we haven't really had that in the game. Besides like killing the more dangerous bosses,
right?
Besides killing buffers, we haven't really had that.
The two healers that are in these waves, Keatsith and Agrius, both of their heals are healing over time based on a buff. So if you bring someone who can remove those buffs, then you're golden. You don't have to worry about that. You can deal with others first.
Exactly. Yeah, true, but I don't want them reapplying it to those assholes. So I still want them dead because they're gonna rebuff and stuff eventually. Like Keatsith's gonna Mog Dance again down the line. But so who was the last wave again? It's Sephiroth.
Well, wave 4 is Balthier and Ramza.
Oh, okay, wave 4.
No, Ramza does the generic buffs, the Galvanize, which is like Brave Regen to them passively, and then Balthier just does Brave plus attack for some reason, and he also does a Snatch Shot. But none of them have stolen any buffs from me for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
Every time he tries to do something, it doesn't.
Yeah, Balthier stole Squall's Lion. What's the EX plus one?
Lionheart.
Yeah, he stole that. Yeah, he had 3 stacks of that. That was super awesome.
I think it's the really pre-awakening, pre-EX Balthier. I think they only steal the first buff or something, right? That's how it works.
It's also not guaranteed because I think
chance-based.
He only gives them a chance.
Right,
it's occasional base. It says I checked the text.
Yeah,
it says occasional, but I mean I reset it like a ton of times and I redid the stage, and he never stole anything from me. So I thought,
from what I remember, Snatch without the weapon, it's like 30% or something. It's something.
I think all the characters are
when Mark had the low roll.
Only.
Yeah.
No, because some of them don't Brave plus HP on their skills, I think. But
there doesn't do a Brave HP.
Yeah.
He just does a Brave attack.
I was gonna say,
and it's not AOE.
Yeah. Definitely no weapon passive. So it's just base kit. So it's really shitty. But thank God, Kreese pointed that out because Strafe was about to lead me into another hour of frustration of being like, because I killed Balthier first because I was like, I don't want my buffs fucking stolen. And then if Strafe was gonna be like, oh well, don't worry, Balthier doesn't steal buffs, I would have run into that and been pissed. But thank you, Chris.
It's a low chance, like from my run of it. But basically, you can target any of them. They're equally as dangerous, I would say. There's nothing to it other than that. Keep them broken, and then you'll be fine.
Lol. Shugo in chat says, Balthier did steal my Agrius's Brave buff.
I mean, you're gonna have chances where it steals. He has an occasional chance to steal. Just reset the wave, guys. Just reset.
Yeah, just reset the wave at that point.
Okay, the last
wave.
Just reset. That's fine. Last wave is Locke, Sephiroth, and Orin. Pretty dangerous wave. The most dangerous one is Locke for sure.
Oh,
Phoenix Ray hits like a truck.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the
Phoenix
healing,
Ray hits
it's
like a
the
truck
horrible. It's the horrible HP AOE attack.
The damage. Yeah. But I don't know how bad it would be if you had like War of Light here, for example, or a debuffer like Lily said. Okay. How much damage would it be? Probably nothing.
Well, with Ferris's debuff,
from nothing,
it's
if you
not
don't
doing
debuff
a
him.
lot. Yeah, no. Yeah, with a debuffer, it's not doing a
Yeah,
lot, but if he's not debuffed, it's a lot of damage.
From like without any debuffs or anything, Sephiroth doesn't do that much damage. He does Octoslash for the first action, even if he's broken, but it does around like 4 to 5k HP damage, so it's not too bad. And then Orin does do Breathe plus HP with Banishing Blade if he's not broken. So you have to watch for that. It does some high damage from what I've seen as well. Like it does 6k or something. And if he's not broken, that's probably enough to one-shot your character. But basically, you got to focus down Locke here. AoE characters really shine. But if, Locke pulls off the Phoenix Ray, you're probably dead and you have to reset.
All right. Well, any other...
Porum is just...
Yeah, no, any other thoughts
Aerith is
about...
a turn thief. You were complaining about turns.
Yeah, like who the hell works here? Unless I free up other turns, the only
Aerith
works here, but you have to remove her from one.
Yeah, I mean the only look. We have 5 turns, 5 tiers. How many chaos viable healers do we have? So you could say Agrius is 1, Charlotta is another, Warrior of Light is another.
I didn't use a healer
Rem.
for one though. You don't
Rem,
need one.
yeah, Rem, and then who else besides these 4? Like it gets low, right? It starts getting tough.
Would you say Charlotta, Rem, Agrius,
and Warrior of Light?
Y'shtola.
Parome, I guess.
Y'shtola, yeah, Y'shtola.
Parome and Y'shtola, that's 6.
Lena.
Porum works on 1 arrow. Arrow, what team did you run? Hey, didn't you say that Porum took you forever? The Porum run? Did you
People are mentioning Selfie is possible.
Selfie is possible. Lena's
Oh, yeah,
possible.
Selfie as well. That's 7.
Every time I see Selfie, they're running her EX, and they're saying the EX is needed for all those extra.
Oh yeah, you have to have the EX. Yeah.
Yeah. So I missed the boat on that at least. Like, is Lena still viable? I don't know.
Yeah, Lena's viable on this stage. That Jin Lee and Vayne both did Squall, Ferris, Lena.
Okay, maybe that's what I have to brute force through then.
It wasn't brute force. Vayne did it in like 134 or 129 turns or something. So it's pretty close.
So it's cutting it close.
And
then,
you know, Jin
and
always
they probably have boards and artifacts too.
Well, Jin always has perfect artifacts. His artifacts are always amazing. He always spends
and I'm sure full boards too.
You got to have full boards, right? What would you even bring? You shouldn't even bring a character without full boards. This.
I think I have like
this is
4 characters.
Game content. All right. Hey, guys.
I wanted to bring that up. Entropy changed my mind about. This is making me take the game a lot more seriously. I used to get through everything with as minimal boards and AFs as possible. This time, I actually went out of my way to do the board. It just makes so much of a difference. And I shouldn't be surprised because, like you said, this is the most end game of the end game. It's never been. I've never felt like it's been required until now. Like, holy shit.
Wait, Mino. Yeah. Are you making the revelation that extra stats help?
Yes. Yes. No, because I always thought, like, sometimes when you play a game, it's extra padding. Like, even in some circles of MMO rating or like the FFN games, you never need perfect everything, right? Like, you can do everything in FF10 without a full sphere grid or something like that. But here, I'm starting to finally respect... And the old Chaoses. I've been running a lot of characters with just their treasures on the boards. Like, 21 to 23 points across the board. I'm like, whatever. And now I'm like, fuck, I need to do all these boards and get these passives. They make a big difference. And so I'm just saying, I'm finally... I'm paying for it because I'm spending most of today and yesterday running boards. But anything else to say on this last wave before we just move to general thoughts?
I think we missed something. We'll say that none of the mannequins gain defense buffs at certain thresholds. Everybody has the same defense like throughout the whole fight. So that's why you can have weaker attack units here. Like, none of them are going to hit ones at any point.
So that's why Noctis would work here, for example.
Right.
Very good to
know. And Noctis is nice. He can do a lot of damage. He can delay turns. He can just take turns up.
I don't recommend Noctis.
Kind of a turn thief, right?
If you have a squad, just use a squad.
Kind of a turn thief.
I'm just saying he is an option.
Yeah. I think so too. But I think you'd have to like work around him instead of like Squall, where you can just be like, fuck it, I'll throw Squall in. He's going to do work on his own no matter what you do.
Yeah, I definitely built around Malkuth.
But okay, so moving on to general thoughts. Sorry, Kreese, we've been keeping you silent for a while. Do you want to lead us off? Like, so what do you think of Entropy as a whole and moving forward? And how has it changed your play style, I guess?
It's forced me to have to think a little bit more critically about who I bring to teams and how I tackle content. But I was already shifting into that mindset before Entropy because chaos fights have been rougher for me. I've had to rethink a lot of my strategies. Even when I had boosted parties, I wasn't just coasting through chaos events. So it hasn't really changed anything. I knew it was coming. It came earlier than I expected, but it's not going to make me rush through it. I'll take my time once I get the characters I need to get through everything. So it really hasn't impacted me too much, except for me to have something else to do.
Do you like it though? Like, you like the addition?
I like it. It's basically the next step up from what Abyss was, and I liked Abyss.
Oh yeah, are they gonna abandon Abyss now? If they're gonna update this every month, when
That's the question.
yeah, right?
They're putting that in for the QA. Somebody
Oh
requested
yeah,
that.
because it's like if
We
they're updating this
also
every
know
month,
they have not updated Abyss in months now, so we don't know what's happening with it. I'm sure it'll be addressed at some point.
yeah, that's scary to think about. Like it could be dead, but if we do keep getting updates, that's just extra content JP never had. That means extra resources and everything. It'd be interesting. They might as well just call this Abyss. They might have just called Dimensions and Abyss because, just
Well,
staring
Abyss,
at it's breaking my soul.
Abyss was beta, so
Yeah, yeah,
at some
yeah.
point that will go away, and there may be a new replacement. So we'll see.
Mm.
Hey, well, if you're struggling, we're going to talk about Dimensions and Entropy forever. So we'll continue to talk about this, and you can go back and find new different ways to bring new parties and continue to refine them. You'll be fighting these battles over and over and over again as you do that. So this will not be the last time we talk about this, but we are wrapping up our time together tonight. So if you want to find some information or some other helpful tips and runs, certainly YouTube is a great place for that. Macnol is going to be working on a call to arms, so look for that when that comes out, and we'll make sure we publish that. Strafe has a real nice, concise video going through each of the fights on YouTube. You can find Strafe on YouTube, S-T-R-A-F-E, Defo. And he always tags it. What Strafe? How do we find you easily?
Hashtag Strafe is the easiest way. So hashtag my name, hashtag Strafe.
Yep.
That would be the easiest way to find it.
So Jin Lee, who has a gold plate, all 5 of his videos are on YouTube. Jin Lee, Defo, Vane Novus, Defo, DFFOO. Just search there, and all 5 of his videos. Black Nero is getting his videos on. I know there may be some other folks who have their runs on. We'll try to share them. And Nero's been working on some videos kind of walking through his experience in Japan too. So there's some good resources out there. I think we're gonna. I'm looking forward to the call to arms for this. It's a different setup, a different kind of way that Macnol's gone about this. But I think we're going to see some very interesting setups. Even just having Strafe on, Strafe had very different setups than Jin Lee and Novus. And Mino had some different ones than I used as well. So I think we're, it's only been 24 hours. I think we're going to get some really interesting things. So be patient. If you're struggling with it, take a deep breath. It's okay. If you're not a content creator and you're not a host of a podcast, the gold plate doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything to us either, but we really wanted it. Do check out all of our resources, tccpodcast.com. We'll have the link to the apparel shop as well if you're interested in that. Join our Discord. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. If you caught only part of the show, you can catch it on Twitch video on demand immediately. It will be on YouTube tomorrow morning and then on all of your podcast apps, wherever you listen to podcasts, or on tccpodcast.com. You can stream it. So for myself, for Mino Spellgood, for Kreese, aka Zerank, and for our special guest Strafe, hashtag Strafe on YouTube. Check out his videos. They're great. Some of my favorite Defo videos.
Wait,
wish
Mark,
you.
did you mention what's coming up?
Oh no, let me do that right before we leave. Yeah, we locks Lost Chapter is coming on the 22nd, and Bosch event is coming on Christmas. So there is more content to come, and we'll see you all after Christmas. So Merry Christmas to those of you celebrating. Happy holidays for those of you across the world who might not be celebrating Christmas. Hope you have some time off and time with family and friends. Until next week, this has been episode 81 of the Crystal Chronicles. Good luck and goodbye.